And joining us now on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is a man who can make heads or tails about why this thing is legal and why I was wrong, which I think he likes to do quite a bit whenever he gets the chance to tell me that. NFL rules expert, former head of NFL refs of the NFL, our friend Mike Pereira. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, except for the fact that I had a knee-jerk reaction to a hit by Thaddeus Moss on Kayvon Thibodeaux that looked dirty, but is legal. And so my question for you is, Mike, why is that block that damn near took out one of the top rookies' knees last night legal?
Well, I mean, I guess I would ask the reverse. Why would it be illegal? I mean, it's not illegal to block below the waist all the time. And that particular block was inside the tight end box, so that makes it legal. Moss actually started within the tight end box. So even from that position, it's legal to block below the waist. Had he been coming from outside in motion, what they call a crackback block, it would still have been legal because it was on the opposite side of where Moss lined up of the ball. So there's really nothing, there's no category that you could have put that in as illegal. However, that being said, I talked to the league this morning, and it's something that the competition committee has been looking at. And all you need is a bit of an uproar, a significant injury, and you could look at saying, okay, we're gonna ban all blocks below the waist, even if it happens in the what you call now the tight end box. So I imagine this will generate more discussion, and I think they've talked about it the last 2 years, as a matter of fact. But once they got to that tight end box and basically made blocks below the waist legal in the tight end blocks and illegal anywhere outside the tight end box, there was just no place to put that action by Moss yesterday to make it illegal.
Well, how about below the knee? How about that? Or you hit someone in the ankle? Because that's where it's, the knee is what we always look at, but that ankle is what kind of folded as well last night. I mean, again, I am not an expert, clearly, when it comes to offensive line play and blocking and things of that nature, but it just strikes me that if you are blocking below the waist and you block right on the knee, so many players tell me over and over again they'd rather be hit in the head than in the knee. I keep hearing that all the time.
Obviously, that was, when all the emphasis went on protection of the head and neck area, the consensus of some within the competition committee that you were going to force the players to go low. And there's like an unwritten rule with players saying that you don't want to go low, but that's obviously changed. And, the quarterback, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact of, are you in a defenseless position? Are you vulnerable? Or do you, as in the case with Thibodeaux, did you see that block coming? And I think he did, and he kind of braced himself in a funny position, actually, kind of turning a bit sideways, which maybe even exposed his knee a little bit more. But, you're getting to the stage in both college and NFL football where each and every year you seem to restrict the rule in terms of when it is legal to block below the waist, and we'll probably see it. I mean, if they've been talking about it for 2 years, which I'm told they have been, if they've been talking about it for 2 years, I'm not going to be surprised if we see something, and maybe it's what you say. Maybe it's an Eisen. You've got to be, if it's at the knee area or below, then it's going to be illegal. You got to be above the knee. Maybe that's maybe that is coming, but not in this case. It wasn't illegal.
Okay, so you had mentioned quarterback hits and things of that nature moments ago. Is there what's the rules of emphasis this year that the league is going to be calling or not calling so far?
Well, to me, Rich, when I look at all the emphasis, there were no rule changes, right?
Right.
I mean, there was one rule change, and it applied only in the postseason, and it was overtime, and it was the Chiefs and the Bills. So that was the only actual change. The typical things of contact of the quarterback's head, I mean, that is constant. You look at that. The taunting issue is still the same. But the illegal contact is probably the one. And that's the one, to me, that changes the game. And it's not a rule change. The rule is exactly the same. But the emphasis is not. They want more calls. And why do they want that? Because the committee looks at numbers. You look at the 2021 season, and all of a sudden you see that points per game were down 4 points a game. Passing yards per game were down 24 yards. And so they look and they say, why? Well, there's two ways to look at it, in my opinion. You could go look at the numbers, what they were in 2021, and recognize that 49.6 points per game was like all-time high, 4 points above the norm. And the passing yards were up too. But you look at the numbers as they reflect the year before, and they're down, and so you make an emphasis of it. We did it in 2003 when I was there, and all of a sudden the number of illegal contact calls in the year went from 79 in 2003 to 191 in 2004. Did it again in 2013 when the numbers were 59, and it went to, I think it was about 160 the following year. Last year, there was only 39 calls, which was one of the lowest ever in terms of illegal contact since the rules came in. So you're going to see more of those, and it will frustrate the daylights out of people because it's one thing to have a 5-yard penalty when it's 3rd and 17, but when that 5-yard penalty for illegal contact, which has nothing to do with the severity of the contact, even if it doesn't affect the receiver. If it's initiated by the defender, it carries that 5 yards and an automatic first down. And so it becomes a huge penalty. So
that's the thing with fans, Mike, is that gets them particularly frustrated is when it's away from the play and you don't see it on the screen, and then all of a sudden a flag comes in and it affects whether a defense gets off the field or not, and it's away from the play. So you're saying, like, what, weeks 1 through 4, we should expect to see a ton more of those until there's such a hue and cry and players get used to it, and then we'll see less of it? Is that the way it's going to go?
This is not one like, okay, we're going to get the tackles up on the line of scrimmage, and it's not one that they're going to call a lot in the preseason and then not call as much during the regular season. This is a constant one. I mean, the committee is adamant about this. They didn't like that number of illegal contact calls in the 2021 season. So we're going to see a lot of that. And I know fans get furious about, 3rd and 17 and a 5-yard penalty makes it 1st and 10. But the theory being with the committee and the rule was that if it was 3rd and 15, then you're going to be actively aggressive as a corner when it comes to, playing bump and run or riding beyond 5 yards, because you know that the 5-yard penalty would make it still 3rd and 12. And so, listen, it's an offensive league. We know that, right? And so they like points, they like yardage, and I guess they like illegal contact penalties too, because they'll see more.
Mike Pereira, bless you. I can hear you're in an airport. Go travel safely. We'll chat down the line during the season. You're the best. Thanks.
You got it. Thanks.
That's Mike Pereira, Fox Sports NFL rules expert here on The Rich Eisen Show.